sum it up in a encapsulated form, what would you say to that?
Well, I think it might have to come down to not one but two. I'll have to combine two. Sorry,
Okay.
I'm going against
That's fine.
interview principles here, and I apologize, but I'm not going to answer your question exactly. I'd have to combine service and family. And then with policing, it's a more intimate setting, it's a community setting. But service, but also family. At the beginning of your question, you know, to me, to say to young people, there's a lot of pride, but I keep going back to the history, the past 100 years for Canada. We're a young country. 100 years might seem a long time to a young kid, but they don't have to go back as far as great-grandfather, great-grandmother to see a history of service. Mm-hmm. So there's a lot of pride there. There's a lot of support from the community. You say that in modern times, there's a lot of globalization. There's global media that goes with that. Everybody knows what's happening within 10 or 15 minutes, or whenever they decide to check their smartphone, intimately what's going on in a theater of operations on the other side of the planet. As we struggle as an international community, as a global community, to see that quickly and that up close, I think there's also a subconscious struggle to build our own walls to that. Certainly in the past, you know, there's a lot of support. World War II, your family's got a lot of history and tradition. They would get it in the form of written letters at home. It was a lot more personal. You know, it's safe, you can share thoughts that way. But you know, the integrity you can build as a person, as you can share that as service to your country, because those two things come hand in hand. Young people today, if they look at it, I think it's a great thing that information is coming across that quickly. I think they're going to grow up with those built-in self-defense mechanisms, you know, to be able to deal with something that is happening. It can be a little bit more fresh, a little bit more brutal, traumatizing, at the same time that maybe it is desensitizing a bit. Maybe we'll grow that way, but certainly I would greatly advocate joining, serving, you know, either policing or military. For sure, I think it's very, very, very closely tied to family history in this country and in your communities.
Okay, you start.
That was a long answer. I apologize.
That was a good answer, though. You know, and you got me thinking. I don't want to put you on the spot, but you sort of partially answered my last question here, and that's to close off here. You said you're a father now, so you have one or two children.
Two children.
Two children. What is Sean Rhodes going to do when it comes the time when one or both of your children start to ask some questions? They've seen some pictures, they've heard some things from other whatever, and they're genuinely inquisitive, and maybe they're getting information contrary to what your perspective is from others at school or wherever, because it's the real world we live in. What's Sean Rhodes going to tell his children why he did it, and why they should be proud that their father did that, and why, if they chose the same, they should feel perfectly comfortable doing the same?
I'll give the father answer first, the poster board father answer. They're 7 and 5. They're already asking questions that are challenging my 41-year 41-year intellect. I would just hope that as a father, I keep an open mind. Because I did what I did or chose to do, I'm going to be conscious not to try and impress that on them. I'm not even going to go so far as to say that what I did was the most right or best thing. I think as a parent, maybe you've got to be careful of that. While at the same time trying to instill the values that you think as parents are good for your kids. When they start to ask the question, I'd love to see my kids at that level, that they're thinking, educating themselves, getting other information, challenging a bit, but as long as it's an open mind, then I think, you know, as a father, I've got to carry that along. Do I look at my 5-year-old son and call him soldier? And do I get maybe a look at maybe the least from my wife when my son's out of the room again? Yeah, absolutely. I'll never push him in that direction. If they do, however, get to the point where they'll question
Will you have to cross that bridge when you get to it?
Well, yeah, because you'd have to be very careful, right?
Every decision you make has a consequence, good or bad. So when it comes to your children, I know with myself, I'm careful. I'm more careful when I say something that when their ears are listening than if it's just me. If I'm the only possible person affected, it changes what I might say than if others are saying. And I sense the same from you with your kids, and they're younger than my kids, but you have a legacy that's very valuable and important and unique that no other person has, and that's something that's to be shared. So, Sean, thank you so much for your service to our country and our community.
Thank you
Appreciate coming
very
today.
much. Thank you very much.